Hi, welcome back to the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. I'm Doug O'Brien. Today we're going to be talking about virtual assistants. Should you have one? How can you get one? What do? They do lots of things. And to answer that question, I've invited my virtual assistant, Linah Macharia, to join me today to have a discussion about this. Linah is a powerhouse behind the scenes of some of your favorite coaches, creators, and podcasters. And she's a content and operations manager who specializes in building smooth, strategic systems for podcasts, YouTube channels, and newsletters. She does my newsletters for me. She brings a rare mix of sharp organization and creative intuition, helping her clients turn their ideas into consistent, high-impact content. Whether she's managing timelines, repurposing content, or cleaning up a podcast episode to sound its best, Linah is the person who makes the magic happen without the burnout. She's also a mother of two, a former teacher, and someone who believes content should work for you and not the other way around. You are listening to the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast, a show devoted to uncovering the systems and the secrets that set the best apart, where you learn how to take your coaching clients to the next level, while you grow the coaching practice of your dreams. So sit back and relax, or sit up and get excited. Either way, you might want to pay attention. This could be important. Hey, Linah.
Hey, Doug.
This is kind of amazing because we actually haven't had very many face-to-face conversations. And I've known you for what, like 5 years now?
Yeah, we've been working together for a really long time. And we just do like texting and emails, but never face to face. So,
We had
yeah.
initial meetings, and then basically it's just been texting and emails. And
Yes.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
How are things over there in Kenya?
Yes. So I'm based in Kenya, for those who don't know. And it's great. Well, it's the rainy season, but like there's a bit of sunshine outside. So yeah, it's a good day.
You don't have seasons the same way we do, right? You're more equatorial.
We don't have seasons here. It's either raining or shining or hot or cold. Yeah.
Okay.
I've never seen snow for yeah. We don't do seasons. We don't do seasons here.
Let me ask you about what you do. So it said in the bio that you were an operations manager, right? Is that right? Sorry?
Content operations.
That's what your title is. And how did you get into doing what you do with me and being a virtual assistant, virtual person?
Yes. So a virtual assistant has many things that they could do in a coach's business. And ideally, they start off under the directorship of the coach. So you have business needs and you have like maybe small mundane admin tasks that are eating up hours in your week. And so you decide, I think I can outsource this so that I stay in my zone of genius.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's where a virtual assistant comes in. And for most of the coaches and course creators that I work with, their zone of genius is teaching, is coaching. They don't have the time to do their content or their social media or their emails. Their genius is in creating the content, is in coaching their students, is in that transformation. So with time and most of the time as your business grows and as you are scaling, you realize you'd rather not deal with your website updates. You not bother with the latest Instagram, whatever algorithm is saying. You don't want to chase that. You want to focus on my students, my transformation, their results. I'd rather have someone in the back end handling the operations and the admin, and that's where a virtual assistant comes in.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's very well said. And thank you for saying that so beautifully, because that means I didn't have to do it. And that's kind of what a virtual assistant does. It just does things better. I'm just going to tell a story. I know I'm here to interview you for a minute, but just a quick little story about why I found Linah in the first place. Many years ago, probably 20, maybe more. I don't want to think about it. It's a long time ago. I built a website for myself. I thought, I'm a neuro-linguistic programmer. Might as well do programming too. How hard could it be? So I took a course.
That's funny.
Well, I knew people that were doing it. So I figured if they can do it, I can do it. So I took a course in it. I went to this like college-y sort of place, and I did. I built my own website using HTML stuff. It wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible. It was pretty nice. And but the problem was it didn't work the way I wanted it to. The store part of it, I wanted to sell CDs and things at the time. The store part of it, I couldn't get it to function. So I went to the teacher of this course that I'd taken, and I said, "Listen, I can't get this. Can I hire you to fix it?" Because he did, that sort of stuff as well, consulting. He said, "Yes, you can hire me. It's $200 an hour," which was a lot back then, and it still is not bad. But anyway, he said, "My first opening is in 2 weeks." I said, "Well, book it, put it in there, and I'd like it to get done now, but if 2 weeks is what it is, book it, and I'll try to fix it in the meantime." 2 weeks go by. I had worked on it. It did not get fixed. So I go to this guy's place. He takes like 20 minutes, fixes it, makes it better than ever. He says, "Well, I've got some extra time in the hour that you've paid for. Let me fix some other things." And he makes this thing start purring like a baby. I don't know, whatever things purr. Started purring like a thing that purrs really well. And I just thought to myself, what have I been doing? I've been just wasting my time. Like you said, instead of focusing on the things that I can actually do well, genius aside, the things that I do well to make money, coaching people, helping people, the things that I'm actually good at.
Yeah.
I can hire somebody who's good at the thing I need to get done and get it done faster and better and far more cost effectively, ultimately. So that's why I started thinking in terms of this. And when a couple, 3 years ago, I started doing my podcast and started doing the newsletter regularly, and so I was like, I can do those things, but honestly, not as well as you do.
Is that the best use of your time?
Yeah, exactly. And you're good at it. You're so damn good at it, and you do it quickly, and you do it well. And it's wonderful to have help like you. It's fantastic.
Yes. And I find that most of the clients that work with me are solopreneurs, just like you were. And most of the time, I'm their first team member, sometimes first and only team member. So for anyone thinking about hiring, it doesn't have to be so complicated. Like, it doesn't have to be a huge team. It could just be you with one assistant who really gets to know your business really, really well, and now almost acts like your second brain, and they can anticipate the needs you have in your business without you saying a word. And that's the best working relationship that you can get out of your virtual assistant. So the first time I came into your business, there's a lot I didn't know about your brand, your voice, how you like your things done. But you're one of the clients that actually has given me full autonomy with their content, right? But that came after you realized, you know what, at this point, she understands my brand, she gets my voice, she gets my audience. But for those feeling some sort of anxiety about hiring their first virtual assistant, it's going to be a bit rocky, but with time, you get to feel so much relief about the hours and headache you're saving yourself in the long run.
By all means, absolutely, and it is also true. It's a little daunting, it was certainly for me. I don't want to speak for every human being out there, but for me, it was daunting to try to find somebody. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to go about finding a virtual assistant. I'd never done it before. Where do you start? So I started looking at, Facebook ads that came up for virtual assistants. I started Googling it and finding different things. There's lots of different organizations. Like, I think there's one called Hire My Mom. I don't even know where I found you. Was that where you are? I'm not even sure. But it was, Hire My Mom, I think, is for women who, were working and then they had a baby. So then now they're stay-at-home mothers, but they still have all these skills and time to do it. So you can hire them to be virtual assistants. They're very happy to take on the work because they're just at home with a little baby, right? But they're doing all this other stuff in their free time. When the baby's sleeping or whatever, they can knock off some newsletters or some organizational stuff that you can't do. So there's lots of really cool organizations. And it's daunting to say, like, I don't know, but you can test things out. It's not so bad, really. It really isn't bad. And when you find somebody, frankly, when you find somebody like Linah, you kind of know it. They're easy to work with. They're effective and efficient. They ask good questions and they, get things done when they say they're going to get it done, and just like, yeah, that's good. Let's do that. So,
but that's everything a business owner needs. Yeah. So there are lots of places, and I'm sorry to say that some people have gotten very bad experiences with virtual assistants. And there are lots of sites where you can get one. There is Fiverr. There is, oh boy, there's lots of places where you can get freelancers. But I want to say that ideally, you want somebody with like the skills that Doug has mentioned. You want somebody reliable, someone skilled, someone who respects your time and their time. And I'm sorry, because some people have been scammed. There are people who've paid invoices and the VAs disappeared. So there's that, and there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah. So wait, let's go. What was the question?
well, it's basically,
Yeah.
if somebody wanted to find a VA, a virtual assistant, by the way, it means different things for different people, doesn't it? I mean, people need. You don't help me with my bookkeeping. You probably should help me with my bookkeeping, but you don't. You probably don't. But you
Talk about that.
But there are things that everyone needs that they're not good at necessarily, or just don't have the time to really focus on doing. And it's different for different people. I have a newsletter that I put out every week, and it takes time to write a newsletter. So Linah helps me with that. I still do a lot of the writing. In fact, most of the writing is my writing, mined from podcasts and other things I've done in the past, and she takes it and puts it together. But it's an effort. It takes time. It takes time to do that, and she does it beautifully and puts it together as a theme. It's just great, and I just have to go in there and update it, correct it a little bit, add something, remove something, whatever. But it takes minutes instead of hours for me to do that. Other people aren't going to need that. They don't do a newsletter, but they'll need, bookkeeping, or they'll need social media management, or they'll, travel arrangements. I don't know. People have different needs. And virtual assistants, you can find somebody who has that skill set. So you just have to, fill out a job description of what it is that you want and, put it up there on the thing, and people will apply for the job.
Yes. People really underestimate how much they can outsource. When Doug came to me, he had like a bunch load of videos on his channel that were not optimized. And he just needed somebody to do the thumbnails afresh and the SEO. And I started off with creating those graphics, those thumbnails in Canva. And then the more we worked together, I realized that YouTube channel needed more attention, and I had the skills in YouTube management. So I approached Doug and said, hey, I think your YouTube channel could use a bit more care and support. How do you feel about me taking charge of your thumbnails, your SEO, your descriptions, everything? And you said yes. Like the good client you are, you said yes.
Because I ain't no fool. That's right. Yes. Yeah.
But that saying yes, Doug, changed your channel for the better.
No doubt.
Yeah, you started being more consistent. Our numbers changed. Our viewership went up. Our subscribers went up. Um, and every time I look at your dashboard, I am so impressed by how much we've grown just from the time I started being like your channel manager to what it was before. And why was it that way? Because YouTube was not your zone. Podcasting and delivering value, that's your zone of genius. The technicalities of what makes a channel perform well or whatever, that's not your zone of genius. So small things like those where people end up being the bottleneck in their visibility without
Mhm.
knowing it. And I'd say for anyone who is wondering where to start, make a list, have some quiet time, look at your whole business ecosystem, write down all the tasks that you do yourself but you'd rather not do, tasks that take about 5 hours in your week, as mundane as they may seem, and start thinking about how can I start outsourcing this so that I can, and as you're not just looking for a task doer, you're also looking for somebody who is going to own the outcomes. Right? Yeah, so yeah, good.
Good. So I I put in my podcast or my newsletter a couple of weeks ago the fact that you were going to be on, and asked if anybody had any questions about virtual assistants. And some people wrote in, so I'm going to ask a couple of the questions from there and see if you can answer them for us. So you might have already answered this, but I'm just going to ask it anyway because it's written here. What specifically does the virtual assistant do on a daily basis?
Yep. Well, you tell them what you want them to do. They come to your business through your invite, right?
Right.
So you tell your virtual assistant what you need them to do. Yeah, ideally, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. It is also true that I don't have a clue what you do on a daily basis, but I have certain things that we need done on a weekly basis. So
Yeah.
we have certain we get this done by Tuesday, this done by Thursday, this published by Friday,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Um, she does lots of things, I'm sure, for other employers and other her children and her husband, whatever. Um, but yeah, it's going to be different for everybody. So you have to figure out what it is that you need for them to do, and then hire somebody who can do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Linah isn't the person for you if you want something on a daily basis. I don't know. Maybe she's perfect, but there's going to be somebody out there who does want to be working with you daily, or doing things. Let me ask another question from the bunch of responses I got. What does a virtual assistant do? Can she help the coach? Does she teach? How can I benefit from the virtual assistant in a hands-on way? That's a bunch of questions, but I just thought I'd throw them out there.
Yeah, good. Specifically for the coaching industry, which really blew up during COVID, I find that most coaches have like admin tasks. They have coaching calls that need setup. Maybe you have weekly coaching calls that are recurring and you need those coaching calls set up. Maybe you need those coaching recordings put up in a database or Kajabi. You need emails and reminders about those coaching calls to go out. Maybe you have a course, you need it uploaded, you need what do we call them? The these things in Kajabi where you break down a course into like
Sub modules and
yeah, yes, you need the modules listed.
right.
There's so much that a virtual assistant can help you in terms of administrative tasks. Maybe you have a Facebook and you need graphics created in Canva. Maybe you are launching something new and you need some updates done on your website. So your virtual assistant can work in your business daily, or they can have weekly deliverables that you need them to meet every week. Me and Doug have a list of deliverables that I deliver each week. We don't even have to communicate about it. It's it's pretty much it's a well-oiled machine at this point.
But I will say it wasn't at first, and part of that was, I, like anybody, I suppose, get into habits of certain things. I used to have 3 different mailing lists. One was a Google list, one was a Weber, and I can't remember where they all were, but I had 3 different mailing lists. So when I put out a newsletter back in the old days, I had to reformat it 3 different times. And so I got used to it. It was a pain in the ass, but I did it. But finally I said, this is ridiculous. I'm spending way too much time on this. And I need to have all my mailing lists into one roof. That's when I found Kajabi. And it was great that I found Kajabi. It is kind of a one roof thing for me. It's great. Everything I do is done through Kajabi now. And yet it was a learning curve because Kajabi's weird, and it just was not normal for me to think of. And it still is a little weird, honestly. But I had to find out a whole nother way of languaging things to fit into their little model of the world. And it was, my audience didn't know that. They were thinking, hey, where's the newsletter? They just want this things coming into their inbox. And so I needed help. I needed help quick. So, I've actually worked with a bunch of different people over the time to try to get this, going again. And finally it is, like Linah said, a kind of well-oiled machine now, thank God. Still needs tweaking. But another thing that she does for me is I'm not that savvy, if you can believe it. I'm just not that savvy when it comes to things like Instagram. I've never looked at a TikTok purposely. I think I've stumbled upon them a few times. But, I'm just not that savvy. But I have an Instagram presence now, thanks to Linah. She takes clips from the podcast and puts it up on Instagram, and I've seen a couple. they're good, but I don't do anything to make them happen. She just does them, and they're good. So yeah, it's pretty great what you can do if you find the right person.
Yeah, and there's a whole lot more that I would want to do on your social media channels and on your Instagram. Maybe I cringe a little when I see something like and it comes down to what matters to the business owner sometimes, because there are things I bring up to you and you're like, sounds good, but I don't see why I should do that. So sometimes ultimately it comes down to you as a business owner, what matters to you and what's most important to you. Because if most of your traffic as a coach does not come from your social media presence, then sometimes you may find that visibility does not matter so much to you.
Right.
If you're doing if your email list is what is working for you, then sometimes it's just best to focus on what works, because there's so many social media channels. And if you're used to having in-person classes and your email list is what works for you, then you may find that you don't want to put so much effort into all these channels. And to be fair, there's quite a lot out there. So also knowing what works for you and for your coaching business, because I will bring so many suggestions to you. Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. The people's businesses are different. If your business is, like, for instance, I teach courses in havening. I'm part of the havening techniques community, and there are people whose job is doing havening. That's their havening therapists, and they rely on people knowing that they do such good work and come to their door and refer their friends. And people come to their door for sessions, and they sit in the office and they do havening sessions, and that's it. They're a havening therapist, if you will. That's a very different need than from what I'm doing. I have a I rarely see people in person. I have an office. I see people once a week in person over there. Most of the time I'm online, and a lot of times I'm teaching classes. A lot of times I'm, doing things to the World Wide Web kind of thing. So I do need an Instagram presence of some kind, probably a better one than I have now, but it's, it exists. And so it's helping that, what I do. So you've got to find out, what do you need, and then how do you get help to do that? So you really takes a little bit of self-examination, homework kind of thing to say, what do I need? And then
Yes.
you'll find out that there's things that you didn't know that you needed, that you need to. Like, I didn't know I needed Instagram presence. I didn't know that I needed SEO for my YouTube channel. What? I didn't know that. But you find out, and then you find somebody who's good at it, and they make it better. So
Yeah. There's a lot of noise out there. So just start with that primary examination of what you need yourself. Sometimes you will hire and fire.
yes,
You will hire and fire. So, and that's okay.
it is.
That's okay. And
That is
that's
okay.
okay. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
Just as an example about a lot of noise out there, a few years ago, I made a video about the havening techniques that's done quite well. I did it out of the desire to really let people know what it is. I wasn't trying to get a lot of views, but it has gotten a lot of views. And then I started getting calls from people that said, "Hey, I can make you videos. It's only $8,000. I spent a fraction of that to make the video." And then but I said, "Well, wow, that's a lot of money for a video, 15-minute video, whatever. Well, let me see what you've done." And so I went to this guy's website, and they were just horrible, terrible, bad videos of, wedding videos. They were just horrible. But he was charging through the roof for it. I know $8,000 is probably conservative. It was small. So you got to be careful of the people out there will want to rip you off and take your business or whatever. That being said, there's also a lot of Linahs out there. Linah's not alone in people who do good work and affordable work. And it's, my goodness, so worth it. It's so worth it. It really is. It's going to make your business much better if you find the right people that help you do these jobs, so that you can focus, as Linah says, on your zone of genius. Instead of doing the stuff that somebody else can do for you, focus on what you're really here to do.
Yeah. I think to add on to that, Doug, let's help the people at least, like what kind of credibility are you looking for with your first hire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say number one, their portfolio or their website, right?
Okay.
And then their testimonials, right?
All right.
Check out the testimonials and see that the people giving those testimonials are actual businesses.
Oh yeah, my God, yes. Good point.
Yeah, yeah. Do you hear some
Chirping?
echoing?
Yeah, there's a little chirping like that from time to time.
Is that from my end or yours?
I have never heard it before today, so I think it's on your end.
Must be me. I'd say credibility in terms of the people who give those testimonials. Are they actual people? Are they actual humans? So if I wrote on my website or portfolio that Doug is one of my clients, and you checked out Doug, you'd see he's a real human with an actual business, with a working email, and he's someone you could reach out to.
Yeah. And don't be shy about reaching out to him. Like, if you emailed a business owner and said, "Hey, do you know this person?" I go like, "Yeah, for sure." And I would respond. But yeah, it's true, because people will create up with AI these days, especially. I suppose it's super easy to make up fake, acknowledgments, fake things. So be careful. Yeah.
Yep.
Find out
Yeah.
that they're real.
Yeah. Do you want to discuss AI, Doug?
Sure. Let's discuss
Speaking of
AI.
Speaking of ChatGPT, so I think most business owners have found that AI can really make your work easier. And I have seen people who have fired their assistants because AI can do it better and faster. But I don't think AI can really replace the human touch and some of the things and support that a virtual assistant brings to your business. In fact, the better your assistant understands AI, the more powerful your team. It's
Yeah.
not, yes, it's not a competition, it's collaboration. So if you find an assistant who can leverage AI, in fact, they have more time on your hands than you to find what's working and what's not, because that's essentially their zone of genius. It's tech and tools and what's coming up and what's, doing things better, faster. So I'd say it's if you have a smart VA who can leverage AI for you in your business, then that's a team advantage. It's not time to say, hey, thanks to ChatGPT, I fired my assistant.
Yeah.
Though, yeah, that's how I found it.
I
So
would imagine that's probably, again, like everything else, dependent on who the person is and what their needs are. Certainly, if I was to fire you and try to do it all with ChatGPT, I'd just be, I'd be a total idiot, because no way I can do it. I've been working with AI. I know a lot about it. It's amazing. It does amazing stuff, but it's not going to replace you. Not a chance. It might, however, replace some other virtual assistants depending on what the person's having them do. I don't know, but be careful. But I can tell you for sure, it's working with us. I know, I can tell some of the things you're doing with AI and go like, wow, that's great. Thank you, Linah. Thank you. This is great. That's so much better now.
yeah.
It's working fantastic. So yeah, AI, man. So listen, I have to cut this a little short. I have a class I got to get to, and I just want to say thank you for everything that you do for me, but also thank you for being here and telling folks about it, because it's a thing. Being a solopreneur is hard, and the old saying is, if you want something done right, do it yourself. It's not true. It's sort of true. It's got truth in it, but it's also true that if you want something done right and you can hire somebody like Linah, that's just a whole lot better, because she'll do it right too. So Linah, if somebody wanted to hire you specifically, is that still possible, or are you filled up?
Yeah, we'll have to see the level of support they need. There are definitely some work I wouldn't take on. There's some work I would take on. So if anyone wants to reach out about content support, we will leave the email in the show notes.
Okay.
We'll leave all the details in the show notes on how to get in touch with me. Or if you need like a referral to other people in my community, I'm happy to share that link on how they can fill up a form and sort of matchmaking till
Yeah.
they find.
Yeah, you've actually done that for me at least once or twice, so that's been really great. It turned me on to people that, like Kajabi Help as an example. That's been fantastic there. Yeah, great. Well, thank you very, very, very much for doing this. And now, by the way, the intro and the outro that you've watched at the beginning and the end of the show were created by Linah. So
We will need to change those, right, Doug?
I know they're a bit long. Yeah, so for maybe the last time ever.
Oh,
Maybe. I'm just saying maybe. This is here's the outro that Linah did. See you guys later. This has been the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure seeing you again. Hope to see you again real soon. Come back next week when we have another gripping and exciting episode of the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. And if you want to, you can find out more about us, each and every one of us, at essentialcoachingskills.com. Thanks.